What's up, guys? Welcome to the Line Change. Now, in this video, we're going to be talking about Pius Suter, someone who we haven't really talked about in a while, as there's been really nothing to talk about when it comes to Pius Suter, other than the fact that he's likely going to hit the open market, as the Canucks and Pius Suter haven't been in talks at all. The Canucks haven't even offered Suter anything. We essentially feel as though Pius Suter has priced himself out of Vancouver. However, since the Canucks attempted to acquire Marco Rossi and were declined by the Minnesota Wild, and within the last 24 hours, it appears as though the Vancouver Canucks and Pius Suter have reconnected and are talking contract negotiations, extensions. We don't know how far it's gone, but apparently things have started coming up. So we're going to dive right into that. We're going to talk about that. We're going to discuss it. Remember in my Marco Rossi video, I mentioned, the Canucks should dangle Pius Suter in front of the Minnesota Wild and attempt to use him as a trade piece along with the 15th overall pick to acquire Marco Rossi. If you guys did not see that video, you guys can check it out right here, right there. But before we get into our discussion about Pius Suter, I want to give a big thank you to my sponsor, Gassy Jack Art, maker of that incredible artwork you can see there behind me. And Gassy Jack Art produces art on canvas and prints. You can find him at GassyJackArt.com. You can also find him on Instagram at GassyJackArt. He currently, I believe, has his end of season sale still going on, where you can buy 4 prints and get 2 of those prints for free. So go ahead, check him out, GassyJackArt.com. All right, let's dive into Suter the Shooter, the Swiss Army knife. This article is brought to you by our friends at Canucks Army. It's written by Tyler Kuhl. I probably mispronounced his last name just now. Apologies. But hey, he's got one cool name. Tyler is a pretty rad name, not gonna lie. The Vancouver Canucks are apparently doing their due diligence in retaining one of their secondary scorers. During Friday's edition of Donnie and Dolly, Rick Dollywell stated that he believes the Canucks and Pius Suter's camp have reconnected following the aftermath of Matt Duchene signing a 4-year contract extension with the Dallas Stars. And this is a quote from Dolly himself. The Canucks didn't get a crack at Matt Duchene. I believe the Canucks have reconnected with Pius Suter's camp in the last 24 hours. I believe contract talks are back on. Canucks are clearly having a tough time getting a top 6 center done. There is one in-house, and that is Suter. Let's see if this goes anywhere. Now, everyone knows Pius Suter is slated to become an unrestricted free agent on July 1st after spending the past 2 seasons with the Canucks. He signed a 2-year contract with the Canucks in August of 2023, which carried a cap hit of $1.6 million. Now, obviously, that was 2 years ago when he signed that contract. And 2 years later, Pius Suter has gotten a lot better. He just had a career season. So obviously, Suter is looking for a bit of a raise and is looking to, up his cap hit. He feels as though he's earned it, and he most certainly has. So he's going to be looking for a raise, and it's going to be a lot more than $1.6 million. Dollywell believes that if Suter were to go to market, he's going to get a nice payday. Another quote from Dolly. Power play, penalty kill, he's a great PK guy. Pius Suter is going to do fine on July 1st if he doesn't get what he wants from Vancouver. Suter is coming off the best season of his young NHL career, as I just mentioned. In 81 games during the 2024-25 campaign, he set career highs in goals and points with 25 goals and 46 points, while matching his career best 21 assists that he set during the 2021-2022 season with the Detroit Red Wings. In 148 games in Vancouver, the Swiss native has scored 39 goals and 36 assists for 75 points. He also notched 3 points in 13 games during last year's Stanley Cup playoffs, where the Canucks made it all the way to Game 7 of the second round against the Edmonton Oilers. Currently, Vancouver has centers Elias Pettersson, Filipino, and Teddy Bluger locked up through at least next season, with Pettersson being on the books through the 2031-2032 season, and Hedl signed for 2 more years. Nevertheless, Suter has proven he can be an important asset for a Canucks team that has its sights set on improvement next season. An elevated role might suit him well, no pun intended. According to cap wages, the Canucks have a little less than $14 million to play with next season. In 364 games across 5 NHL seasons, Suter has totaled 82 goals and 80 assists for 162 points. So there's the news on Pius Suter. The Canucks and Suter have reconnected, which is obviously a big positive. Which is a big positive, considering that we've heard nothing up until this point. And it looked as though the Canucks were going to, lose Suter in free agency for nothing. Considering that they didn't trade him at the deadline along with Besser. But as I mentioned in my Marco Rossi video, I did suggest dangling Suter in front of the Minnesota Wild. I obviously said that before reading this article and hearing that the Canucks and Suter had reconnected. So obviously my stance on that has changed ever so slightly. Now, obviously, if, contract talks break down between Suter and the Canucks, then yes, that is when you dangle Pius Suter in front of the Minnesota Wild. Be like, we'll give you this guy, or we'll give you his signing rights. You sign him to an extension, give him what he wants. You guys get your second line center. You get a Swiss Army knife, a guy who can play on the power play, a guy who can penalty kill, a guy who can score. You get a jack of all trades with this player, and all we want in return is Marco Rossi. Bada bing, bada boom, get it done. Just my opinion on that. But that's only if contract talks break down. If they're able to re-sign Suter, awesome. I would be happy about that. Because obviously, losing a guy like Suter is going to hurt this team. And yes, you can kind of replace Suter, but at the same time, you want to reward him for how he stepped up this past season. And obviously, losing him for nothing is really going to sting. And obviously, the Canucks, and this has come out recently, that they're hesitant to reward big contracts to guys who have a single season, or let me rephrase that. Players who have a single successful season, they're hesitant to give big contracts out in regards to that. And they have said that because they feel as though, they're learning their lesson with the Dakota Joshua contract that they signed last season. It ended up not working out. Joshua kind of took a step back. Obviously, his situation is, you can't fault Joshua really. The guy had cancer, and you can't really fault that on him, which I am not, by the way. And then, you're currently seeing it with Brock Besser. He had that one season where he scored 40 goals and then was unable to repeat it, have a better season the following year. And that's why the Canucks are hesitant to offer him a long-term deal. Same can apply for Pius Suter. He has a breakout year. His first time he has a career year for the first time, and they're hesitant to give him the money because they, again, feel as though they don't want to make the same mistake they made with Dakota Joshua. Not that re-signing Joshua was a mistake. Not saying that at all. But you understand where I'm coming from on that and how the team looks at it from that perspective. So, but let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about Pius Suter and the Canucks reconnecting and, talking contract. Do you guys think that they can maybe get something done? Maybe kind of like meet in the middle? Or do you guys maybe agree with me, thinking that if contract talks break down between the Canucks and Pius Suter, keep in mind, July 1st is only 11 days away. Just a little over a week away. And time is running out on, because July 1st, Pius Suter will be on the market. Other teams will have a chance to throw money at him. Same goes for Besser. Other teams will have a chance to throw money at him. Canucks will not have, negotiating rights. Right now, they're the only team that can negotiate with them. Come July 1st, that ain't the case anymore. So, do you guys agree with me that, if contract talks break down, that they should dangle Pius Suter and maybe his rights in front of Minnesota to try and pry away Marco Rossi and actually get the deal done? Let me know in the comment section down below if you guys agree with that or not. And as always, if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you want to stay up to date on all Canucks content, whether that's the Abbotsford Canucks and the Vancouver Canucks, be sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a single video. Obviously, things are going to be ramping up with trade talks, the draft, free agency. Things are going to be ramping up on this channel, and I am absolutely pumped and excited for it. Obviously, things up until this point have been a little on the quiet side, minus the Abbotsford content, which I've absolutely loved bringing to you guys. So yeah, be sure, be on the lookout for more trade talk, trade speculation, free agency, the draft. I will have it for you right here on the line change. And, speaking of the line change, you can find us on social media. You can find us on Facebook. Just search The Line Change to find our Facebook page. Find us on Instagram at The Line Change. You can find us on X at Line Change Van. You can find us on TikTok at the.line.change.po. Feel free to give us a follow on all of our social media platforms. If you prefer a audio version of this podcast, you can find us on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. On Spotify, once again, feel free to give us a follow, as well as rate and review us. But that's going to do it for this video. Once again, let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about the Canucks and Pius Suter reconnecting. And as always, let's go Canucks. Let's go Abby Canucks. Tonight, big night. It's the big game, the big kahuna. The Calder Cup is in the building in Abbotsford, and we're going to be rooting on Abby to bring the cup home because we want the cup. I'll see you guys in the next video.